Hi class, this is Dr. O'Connor. In this video, I'm going to talk about vitamins. This is going to be a very short video because you can read most of this in your textbook. But anyway, what are vitamins? These are organic molecules that are essential in trace amounts that have to be obtained in the diet. That's what it means when we say essential, just like those amino acids. Essential amino acids are ones that we have to obtain from the diet. They're not synthesized in the body. The reason we're studying vitamins or briefly going over vitamins is because many of them are components of coenzymes. And actually, some vitamins function as coenzymes themselves. So we're going to talk about two types. We're going to talk about the water-soluble and the fat-soluble vitamins. First, we'll talk about water-soluble. They're found in the aqueous environment inside the cells. Most are components of coenzymes. We'll go through those in a minute. Water-soluble vitamins have plenty of hydroxyl groups, carboxylic groups, and other polar groups. That's what makes them water-soluble. Now, let's take a look at two examples. Some of these structures can be very straightforward, like that of vitamin C, and you will see all these hydroxyl groups. So we see the vitamin C is very soluble, and it's, as far as the structure goes, it's not very complex. However, let's take a look at vitamin B12 here. This is also a water-soluble vitamin. It has a lot of oxygens. There's the amino groups, and so on. Here's an amide group, another amide group, OH groups, and so on. So this is polar, but it's a very complex molecule. The structure is very complex. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these vitamins. In 19.5, table 19.5, it lists these vitamins, their functions, and so on. So vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid. This is a coenzyme and it delivers hydride ions. It's also known as an antioxidant, which I'll talk about in a minute. And vitamin C is needed for collagen synthesis. We have our B vitamins, B1, B2, and as I said before, a lot of these water-soluble vitamins are part of coenzymes. So, and we know the coenzymes, right, are part of, they're needed by certain enzymes to function. So now you know why we need our vitamins, why we need to give vitamins in our diet. So B1 it's in a coenzyme, and this is for decarboxylation reactions. It maintains energy supplies, coordinates the activity of nerves and muscles, and also supports proper heart function. Some vitamins have many different functions. Riboflavin, that's B2. This is also a part of a coenzyme, FMN and FAD, which we'll be talking about much later. And this is important in carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism, and fats. Necessary for red blood cell formation, antibody production, cell respiration, normal fetus growth, and so on. It's very important for proper functioning of the heart and also for the development of body tissues like our hair, skin, and nails, and also maintenance of mucous membranes in our digestive tract. Vitamin B6. This is also in a coenzyme for amino acid and lipid metabolism. This is needed for more than 100 enzymes that are involved in protein metabolism. This is essential for red blood cell metabolism. The nervous and immune systems need vitamin B6 in order to function efficiently. It's also needed for the conversion of tryptophan, remember the amino acid, to niacin. So tryptophan is converted to niacin, okay, which of course we know is a vitamin. And then there's B12. This is also in a coenzyme for nucleic acid metabolism, so the metabolism of the RNAs and DNAs. Vitamin B12 is needed for building proteins in the body, red blood cells, and also for nervous nervous tissue function. So let's go up here now. We just have a few more that I want to go over. Niacin. This is in a coenzyme, NAD+. We'll talk about that later. And niacin is very important. It's needed for energy metabolism, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, proper digestion, and also it's great for a healthy nervous system. Folic acid. This is in a coenzyme for amino acid and nucleic acid metabolism. It works along with vitamin B12 and vitamin C to help the body digest and use proteins and to synthesize new proteins whenever they're needed. It's necessary for the production of red blood cells, and it's also important for DNA synthesis. It is helpful with tissue growth and cell function, and it helps to increase the appetite when needed, and also helps stimulate the formation of digestive acids. Pantothenic acid, this is also in a coenzyme, actually coenzyme A, which we'll talk about later. And we're going to come across this again when we talk about energy metabolism. And it's also involved in the synthesis of cholesterol and formation of steroid hormones. The steroid hormones are actually formed from cholesterol, which we'll talk about later. Biotin, this is also in a coenzyme for carboxylation reactions, necessary for the production of leucine, which we know is an amino acid. And it also plays a part in replication and transcription of DNA, which of course we'll talk about later. And it's associated with the production of neurotransmitters in the brain, including those that are associated with cognitive function, emotional well-being, and our memory. Now, the fat-soluble vitamins, we only have to remember 4 of them, A, D, E, and K. And unlike the water-soluble vitamins, these are stored in the body fat, in adipose tissue. None of the fat-soluble vitamins have been identified as coenzymes, so only the water-soluble vitamins. And their toxicity is greater because they're not water soluble. You know, with water soluble vitamins, if you take too much, most likely it's just going to be excreted in the urine, and it's not going to cause you a problem. But the fat soluble vitamins, you can overdose on. You can get too much and they can cause problems, and that's because they're stored in our fatty tissue. The toxicity for water-soluble vitamins is not as great as that for the fat-soluble vitamins. So let's take a look at the 4 fat-soluble vitamins. Okay, so vitamin E is an antioxidant. It prevents breakdown by oxidation of vitamin A and polyunsaturated fats. It's not as toxic in overdose as some of the other fat-soluble vitamins. I remember hearing for years that vitamin E was good for people with heart problems, and we heard it wasn't good for people with heart problems. So I think with everything else, probably moderation is the key. Vitamin K is essential for liver synthesis of prothrombin, which happens to be a blood clotting factor, and also some of the other blood clotting factors. And deficiencies of this vitamin are very rare because it's usually produced by intestinal bacteria. We have vitamin D. Go ahead and write that out. Vitamin D. This is a very important vitamin. In fact, there are so many people today that are deficient in vitamin D, and vitamin D is synthesized when the UV light from the sun strikes a derivative of cholesterol that's in our skin. And believe it or not, wearing sunscreens actually prevents the synthesis of vitamin D. So a lot of people, as I said, are deficient in vitamin D, especially if they live in areas where there's not much sun. So really you need some sunlight in order to synthesize this vitamin D. It's very important for bone growth, calcium and phosphorus absorption in the intestine, and retention in the kidneys. And again, as I said, sunscreens will block vitamin D synthesis. There's vitamin A. Vitamin A. This is important for night vision, healthy eyes, and there are 3 forms, and you've heard of some of these, I know. We have the retinol, and retinoic acid. So obviously a functional group in the retinol would be an OH group, an alcohol. In the retinol, it'll be an aldehyde, right? And in the retinoic acid, we're looking at a carboxyl group. Okay, vitamin A, again, that's very important, especially for our vision. So now we can talk about some antioxidants. These are substances that prevent oxidation. How do they do that? They actually react with an oxidizing agent. So our major dietary antioxidants are, of course, vitamin C, vitamin E, beta carotene, and selenium. Okay, so how do they work? Well, antioxidants actually diffuse free radicals. These free radicals, remember, are these molecules or atoms that have an unpaired of electron, and they are very, very unstable. Free radicals are the most unstable substances. So in order to gain stability, what they do is they pick up electrons from other molecules, which obviously causes a lot of damage. So for example, vitamin E will give up hydrogen from an OH to oxygen containing free radicals. And then the hydrogen is then restored by a reaction with another antioxidant, vitamin C. So the superoxide ion, this one here, this is something that's found in the body. And again, it's going to pick up electrons wherever it can. So when we eat diets that are high in antioxidants, then basically what we're doing is providing the electrons and in the form of hydride ions for these ions. That way we can eliminate them and hopefully less damage is caused. There's a table in your book, 19.7, and this goes over all the minerals and the significance, where we can find all these minerals that we need. And for example, here, calcium. We know it's important for bone formation. We know we can find it in dairy and eggs. And if you're deficient, we know that, osteoporosis could definitely set in. And then if there's excess calcium, then we can have kidney stones and heart arrhythmias. So this is a nice little table if you want to educate yourself on some of these minerals. Well, I think that's it for this part. I told you that this would be a short video. So everybody have a nice day. As usual, please let me know if you have questions, and I'm more than happy to help you.